Almost a decade ago, mysterious gates started to open and creatures with otherworldly powers began to come out from different worlds, and humankind did not have weapons to fight back. But some people with magic abilities started to appear. They were called hunters and were categorized from S rank to E rank, E rank being the weakest and S being the strongest. Jinwoo is met by a group of hunters, 12 in total. They get ready to go into a dungeon to fight some magical creatures and make some money out of that. Joo-hee Lee being their healer and Song-cheol being group leader. While they clear the dungeon, Jinwoo gets wounded by a goblin and one of the teammates comes and saves him. Laying down on the ground, Joo-hee heals him while the other teammates finish clearing the dungeon. They all cheer. Suddenly, one of them finds another tunnel in the dungeon. At that point, they understand that they are inside a double dungeon. Cheol says that he has heard about double dungeons, but has never seen one. After voting to go or not, the group decides to go to check the dungeon, and they find a big temple room with statues that seem to be watching them, and a piece of stone with some commands that ask them to worship some kind of god. The door closes, and they're trapped inside. The statues start to move and kill one of them. They start to panic and don't know what to do. After a couple more of the team are killed, Jinwoo figures out they need to obey commands that are on that piece of stone. After trying to find out how to obey those commands at one point, they try and fail to execute a plan. Only 5 of them escape, and the rest get killed. Jinwoo is left alone in the center of the room, being ripped apart by the big statues. And before dying, he wishes to have had a second chance. At that point, a screen appears giving him an option to choose yes or no. If he chooses no, his heart is going to stop beating. Then Jinwoo wakes up in the hospital, thinking that all that had happened in the gruesome dungeon was a nightmare. But 2 guys from the Hunters Association enter the room and start to interrogate him and ask if he had an awakening. They ask him to put his hand on the mana meter, and it shows 10, which means he is the weakest E rank. After these guys leave, Jinwoo's screen pops up showing him a daily quest with some goals to achieve, with the failure to do so resulting in a penalty. He ignores that and goes to sleep, and wakes up in a desert where he's chased by a giant centipede. He manages to survive this penalty and gets back to the hospital room, now understanding that he's not supposed to miss the daily goals. He starts to train and completes several daily activities. After completing the daily goals, he gets a reward box with a key, which later helps him to enter a dungeon. Upon entering the dungeon, he starts to fight some goblins and manages to kill them all. Then, after his struggle with the goblins, a giant wolf suddenly appears from behind, trying to kill him. After some struggling with the wolf, Jinwoo manages to get a sword from his inventory and is able to defeat the wolf. The win upon the wolf gives him an upgrade. And at this point, he understands that fighting for real gives him more points than the daily quest. He decides to continue fighting in the dungeon to get more points to level up. After fighting numerous wolves and emerging victorious, he gets to the end of the dungeon where he faces the boss, a huge serpent that seems really hard to fight. But after studying the serpent and his armor, Jinwoo manages to defeat the serpent. As a bonus for this, he gets a dagger with paralysis and drain effect. On his way home, he encounters a group of hunters fighting a giant monster, having trouble defeating him. Jinwoo, seeing that they struggle with the monster, decides to strike the giant from a distance with one strike, thus leaving his identity to the group unknown. Over the next few days, while at home, he searches for another job. He finds a dungeon raid led by Dong-suk. He is surprised by the lack of healer, but still accepts the job because he desperately needs money. The next day, he meets Dong-suk with his mates at the dungeon entrance and Yoo Jin-ho, a young D-rank hunter, with some fancy gear on him. While in the dungeon, they work their way up to the boss, encountering giant ants. The group works together and manages to defeat the giant ants and get to the boss, which was a big spider sleeping, surrounded by a pile of crystals. Dong-suk asks Jinwoo and Jin-ho to guard the crystals, pretending they need to go grab some more bags and get as many as possible crystals. But Dong-suk betrays them, hoping they're gonna get killed by the spider. They use an explosion to close the entrance, and suddenly the spider wakes up, and Jinwoo and Jin-ho are forced to fight the spider, despite the fact that it was way higher in rank. Jinwoo manages to defeat the spider, and Jin-ho is shocked by the performance showed by him. When Jinwoo is done with the spider, he's granted a new skill, Murderous Intent, which inserts fear in his enemies. Dong-suk with his mate return back to the boss, hoping they're dead, but no. So they decide to kill Jinwoo and Jin-ho, but Jinwoo engages with them in the fight, then one by one he kills everybody from Dong-suk's team who betrayed him and planned to kill him and Jin-ho. At the end, he faces Dong-suk, which was an easy target for him, before killing him. Jinwoo tells Dong-suk his own words, "What happens in the dungeon stays in the dungeon," then finishes him. Jin-ho starts to call him boss and promises that he will keep his secret of being so powerful. Next, Jinwoo and Jin-ho meet at a restaurant, and Jin-ho asks Jinwoo to help him with 19 more raids so he can become a guildmaster, and offers him a $30 billion building for completing those raids. But Jinwoo refuses the offer, thinking it's too risky. Then, Dong-suk's brother decides to gain revenge on them for killing his brother. After this, Jinwoo starts to fulfill his daily project and gets stronger and stronger. As a result, he gets more loot boxes, making his ambition also stronger to gain more power. One of the boxes has a key to Demon's Castle, an S-rank challenge. Jinwoo decides to try this challenge, and he's facing a 3-headed monster. He's engaging in this deadly fight, almost getting killed, but in the end he manages to survive and kills the monster. He's badly damaged after this fight. He is granted an elixir of life for this fight. However, 3 items are needed to craft it. Luckily, they're also found in the castle. He understands he needs to level up and become stronger to go back into Demon's Castle. After this, Jinwoo receives a message from Hunters Association to participate in a D-rank dungeon raid. At the dungeon entrance, he meets his previous teammates from the double dungeon, Joo-hee Lee, Song Cheol, and the 2 others who ran away. They feel ashamed, but Jinwoo is not upset at them. Then, 3 prisoners come out from Kang Tae-shik's car, one of the Hunters Association members who brought them. They are explaining that they are here to reduce their sentence, and Shik Kang will join them. While in the dungeon, they encounter 3 passes and split up. Kang goes with those 3 prisoners. He was paid by another man to kill those 3 because they murdered his daughter. Kang hopes nobody is going to see him when he's going to kill them, but unfortunately, 2 guys from the raid saw him killing the prisoners, and Kang decides to kill them too. Jinwoo, with his team, hears something, and they rush to the scene, finding out those 3 prisoners are now dead, and the other 2 members are also deceased. Turns out Kang killed them. Song Cheol asks why an association member would do that. Kang reveals his evil plan. But because everybody was witnessing what he was doing, he decides now to kill everybody. Cheol engages Kang in a fight. He asks Joo-hee to boost him with her healing power. Cheol takes a hit, the healer cures him back. After many times, Cheol fails to beat Kang, and he is on the edge of being killed. But Jinwoo intervenes, stopping Kang from killing Cheol. Kang engages Jin, who blocks 2 of Kang's attacks. Kang understands the true power of Jinwoo, assuming he had an awakening. Kang thinks due to his experience it will be easy to kill Jinwoo. After a struggle to kill Jinwoo, Kang uses his special ability to go invisible and attempts once more to take Jinwoo out. He manages to cut Jinwoo's leg. Jinwoo uses his ability to heal and fixes his leg back, which amazes Kang. Kang becomes invisible, one more time trying to attack Jinwoo, But unknown to him, Jinwoo can now track Kang's moves and defeats him in a matter of seconds, stabbing the dagger in his chest. Jinwoo gains from this combat a stealth skill. Then Jinwoo reveals to Kang that he's a hunter that gets stronger with each fight. Outside the dungeon, the remaining parties explained to Jinwoo that Kang was an evil person and revealed to him his plan. Woo asked how they managed to kill him. Jiul says that with the healing power of Juhi, with which she used to boost him, they managed to kill Kang. Jinwoo understands that Jinwoo possesses a higher rank power after the double dungeon accident and warns him to be cautious because Dong-suk's brother is after him and he doesn't care about the truth. He wants revenge. Then Jinwoo and Jinwoo start to work together to clear the dungeons so he can fulfill his goals. Jinwoo is happy to make money out of that. They agree that nobody else goes in the dungeon, only those two. The rest of the team is staying outside. Jinwoo easily clears those dungeons while leveling up and investing in stealth skills. Then, An Sang-min, a manager from a guild association, is presented with a piece of paper that somebody paid a lot of money for, a permit to clear all the C-rank dungeons. Sang-min sees Jinwoo's name on the list and thinks that he had an awakening. Sang-min goes to one of the dungeon's gates, finding Jinwoo's teammates chilling and asking them what they do. He then figures it out that Jinwoo is clearing these dungeons all by himself. Sang-min arranges a meeting with Jinwoo, offering him money to clear the dungeons. Jinwoo tricks him on the money, but they have a deal, and Sang-min promises to keep his secret. The next day, Jinwoo receives a job change request. After accepting it, he is faced with a knight to fight, which gives him trouble at the beginning, but he manages to beat him. Then, he's faced with stealthy assassins, which are harder to detect, but he wins that too. Then, finally, mages come in, and he starts to understand that he did not invest in skills that can counter those types of enemies, but he manages to fight them as well. At this point, Choi Jong-in, a guildmaster, gathers his S-rank team to go to the Jeju Island, where they got beaten last time and left some unfinished business. Jinwoo, after fighting a bunch of knights and leveling up again, gets to a room with the next challenge. In that room, he is faced with his next opponent, Igris, the Knight Commander. Igris is a higher rank enemy. The fight starts, and Jinwoo barely does some sort of damage to Igris. They are equal in speed, but Igris is way more powerful than him. Jinwoo's dagger is not powerful enough to strike through the armor. Jinwoo decides to take combat to bare hands level. Igris beats him in this combat too. They match in a speed fight, and Igris beats him again. After getting beaten down so many times, finally, Jinwoo gathers his strength all together and makes a move on Igris, hits Igris with all his power, and breaks the armor, finally killing Igris the Knight Commander. His screen pops up, giving him 4 rewards, and he's given his first S-ranked gear and the ruler's hand stone. At this point, he understands that the fight is not over yet. Portals open, and hundreds of knights come out. A new quest begins, wishing him good luck. The timer starts. After 5 minutes, he wants to use the teleportation stone to quit the fight, but he is hit by a knight and loses the stone. At his lowest moment, as he is getting beaten in this fight, Jinwoo's past ego appears and makes fun of him. He almost gets killed, but because he stays too long in the quest, he also passes midnight and gets the penalty for not completing daily goals. This penalty actually saves him by transferring him into the desert with the centipede. Jinwoo decides to stay there and kill as many as possible of these centipedes. He levels up a lot, gets new powers, and destroys Ruler's Handstone, which gives him the skill to manipulate objects without touching them. He returns back to the original quest, stronger, deciding to win. Engaging with the fight again, he realizes that the knights are controlled by mages. Jinwoo starts to focus on the mages, which tried their best to stop him, but in the end, he kills them. After defeating the final mage, he is proposed necromancy level. He hesitates, but accepts it in the end, and gets an instant upgrade to Shadow Monarch, which gives him skills to gain control over the Shadow Knights. He needs a command for that. Jinwoo chooses the word arise, and instantly he gets an army of knights around him. He also tries to arise Egress, but his first attempt fails. After 2 more unsuccessful attempts, and after thinking for a while, Jinwoo convinces Egress that he's defending an empty throne without knowing when his king will be back. Jinwoo asks Egress to join and serve him. Egress arises and joins him.